Welcome to the Tomorrow Zone Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Rubin. This episode is part of a new series, Future Shaping Leaders. It's inspired by my new book, Enter the Tomorrow Zone, How to Inspire Breakthrough Innovation and Shape Your Future. In this series, we're exploring how leaders who are shaping the future are thinking, how they're questioning, and how they're taking action in their own spheres of influence. These conversations are highlighting leaders at different stages in their journey who are stepping forward to address emerging challenges, experiment with new ideas, and influence how others are thinking about the future. So, today's conversation features a next generation leader who is helping her peers understand the technologies shaping their future and encouraging very thoughtful, responsible engagement with AI. My guest today is Adya Tiwari. Adya is a high school student and president of her school's Ethical AI Club, where she leads initiatives focused on AI literacy and responsible technology use. She's also the co-founder of the AI Literacy Project, a student-led initiative that is helping young people understand AI, digital safety, and privacy through workshops that are designed for students by students. Through this work, she and her team are helping the next generation engage with AI thoughtfully and confidently. Adya, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So before we dive in, I was wondering if you could just give our listeners kind of a high level view of the work that you're leading.
Yeah, so my friend and I, who's a co-officer with me at Aragon's or our high school's ethical AI club, Sonvi, we saw a big problem in, we both have younger sisters, and we saw a problem in the fact that our younger sisters have access to like iPads technology, my sister especially, and they're seeing all this AI, these AI related things. Like my sister sees AI related or AI generated YouTube videos, things like that. And we realized that a big problem is that these kids are being exposed to AI, but they don't actually know what it is. Like my sister will see all these fake videos, and I can tell that they're clearly AI, but she's not able to. And I feel like that's a big problem, and that's a big gap in knowledge between the generations that we're kind of working to close. So we're going around to schools, we presented at Scouts, and we're just trying to kind of do our part in educating the youth and the younger generation.
I love what you're doing. This work is so important. It's so important that we're educating young people how to really understand, what's real or not real. So many crazy things happening with AI content these days. So I'm curious, like what sparked your commitment? Because this is a lot of work that you're doing on top of the fact that you're actually in high school and still have to do all of that. So, what really sparked your commitment to this challenge that you're working on right now, and why do you think it's so important in this moment in time?
I think a big thing for both of us is um, so my parents work in tech, so I kind of was familiar with it for a while, but I never really heard about AI until a few years ago. And it went from just something that seemed so unreachable, like only in these movies, to something that is present in people's everyday lives now. So yeah, that's kind of what sparked this.
And it felt like kind of a sudden shift. I've been using AI in my business now for close to 10 years. But when I would be out speaking about it or interacting with business leaders, it felt like a far off thing, or people are thinking of it as more of like a sci-fi thing. But it really
Yeah.
is something that's kind of woven into our everyday life and in so many ways. When you first started working on this initiative, Adya, where did you decide to really focus your energy and why did you decide to start there?
Like you were saying, it's become so accessible to everyone now. And where we decided to start with was middle school students because because they're old enough to have their own phones, their own computers, their own technology, but they still likely don't know exactly how to use AI, things like that, because also schools aren't really teaching it. So our first few presentations were at middle schools, kind of talking about using AI not to cheat in school, but to use it more to like further their learning. And we've kind of expanded from that. We've presented to some elementary schoolers, some younger kids, even a few older kids. But yeah.
So, as you began working with other students on AI literacy, what stood out to you in terms of how young people are encountering and using AI? Because you mentioned the cheating and trying to get them to shift into learning, but what else are you seeing as you're working with middle school as well as high school students?
Yeah. So in my high school, I actually see AI as a problem. A lot of teachers, they have to tell us, like, don't use AI. And like in a lot of my classes, for example, my English class, we have to write things on paper. We can't use our computer. They've blocked certain AI tools on our school Chromebooks, things like that. So I feel like it's such a huge problem, or schools view it as such a huge problem, but it can definitely be if people are taught it in the right way and build these good habits with AI and with technology. It can be used so well. Like for me, I use it to help me. And I feel like a response that we got from kids is that, I don't know, we were pretty surprised how many kids already knew what AI was. So it's kind of showing that they are being exposed to this tool, and ignoring it and just telling people not to use it is not going to be a valid solution.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really important point. Kids already know what it is, they know that it's there. And so now it's about teaching them how to be responsible and use it correctly.
Yeah.
What are some of the tools that you're using in your school experience? I'm just curious.
Honestly, I like Gemini. But most kids in my school you just hear like ChatGPT being thrown around all the time. Personally, I use it if I don't understand something in any of my classes. Sometimes I can like in math especially, I can screenshot a practice problem and just send it to the Gemini and just say, "Can you explain how to do this problem?" Because I'm not really sure how to start it. But I do know there have been some instances where people write their entire essay or something using an AI tool, and like some people just copy and paste it and then submit it. And our school uses an AI checker, Turnitin as well. So that's another AI tool that's being used in schools.
So, as you've been experimenting with these tools, as you've been working with kids on closing this gap and really addressing this challenge of responsible use and education, what is something that you have learned along the way that may have surprised you or changed how you think about this issue?
I think before, when we thought about presenting to younger kids, we kind of thought about maybe they won't know what AI is. Maybe we'll have to focus more on just internet safety as a whole. Because they have these Chromebooks that are school provided, but a lot of these kids obviously don't have phones, things like that. But when we presented to some elementary schools, when we asked at the beginning, we asked them who here's heard of AI. Every single one of them raised their hand. Some of them could share and like accurately give us a picture of what AI was, which really surprised me. And that kind of, I feel like I've said this before, but that kind of showed me and my co-founder Sanvi that we need to have a more we need to kind of have a different approach than what we initially thought to younger kids, because they are also growing up in this world of AI, and it's not like they're oblivious to it. They know what it is, and some of them have been using it.
So you were thinking about doing this for your sister, who she was 7 at the time you
Yeah.
started, and you're a junior in high school, so that's quite a gap. Do you see a big difference between how high schoolers are approaching AI and how the younger elementary school kids are approaching AI? I'm just curious because, like, I'm an old person, so like I remember what the world was like before Google was even invented. But kids are in a whole different world from me. I'm just curious, what are you seeing there?
I'm seeing a difference. I feel like when so we presented to my sister's school and she was there. And I think those kids were a lot more, they were all receptive to our presentation, but they seemed to like be more engaged to, they seem to actually learn a lot more. When we presented to older kids, maybe closer to our age, I feel like they were definitely nice about our presentation, but I just feel like some of them have already formed their habits. So it's hard to have a few presentations change that. But I do feel like we are making an impact with a lot of kids. Like if kids haven't been using AI regular, like kids in my high school, I definitely think have been using AI regularly almost every day for even the smallest tasks. Like some people I know, they use it to write emails and things like that, which I think is totally unnecessary. But it's hard to change those already existing habits. But with kids from elementary school all the way up until I'd say eighth grade, I don't think they've completely formed their AI habits yet, or their digital habits yet. So, like that's a big difference between people my age and then the younger kids that are growing up now.
I really love that you're bringing up the importance of habits. This is something that we talk a lot about in the Tomorrow Zone. Innovation is not an event. It's a habit. It's a way of being. It's a practice. It's the behaviors, and AI is a lot like that. And I think it's a really insightful thing you're finding that if we can get to these kids early, we can help to shape really good habits. Um, I'm curious, from what you've seen working with other students, what do you think adults might be missing about how young people are learning about AI?
I think quite a lot in school settings because, like I mentioned before, they don't really talk about it other than the only time students hear about it is when they hear don't use it. Um, and I feel like that's a little hypocritical because I know they use these AI tools to help them. They have that AI checker. That's definitely an AI tool, obviously, and I'm sure they use AI tools in other contexts as well. So I think just ignoring. I think they hope that just by ignoring AI, it'll maybe go away or kids won't use it, but that's definitely not going to happen. Kids will be using it either way. So I think the next step that adults need to take is just acknowledging that it's there, and then moving on to try to do something about a problem that they see and try to maybe spread awareness about AI and how to use it.
I'm curious. I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. You mentioned habits and how important it is. What do good habits look like when we're using AI?
A thing that Sanvi and I tell these kids in our presentation, we always say something along the lines of if it's taking away from your learning, then that's not a good use of AI. It should be, we always say it should be making you and your learning and your experiences better, but it shouldn't be replacing them. So I think a bad habit would be just using AI for everything, not actually thinking about things on your own, because there's so much growth that comes from struggling with a problem. And even if this tool can help you, you don't want it to just do it for you.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And that's kind of a mindset shift in helping people to understand what true learning looks like. It's not comfortable and it's not always fun, but it's so important for your future. So, Adia, where can people go online to learn more about your AI literacy project?
We have a website right now. Um, it's ethical AI education, and you have to do .lovable.app because it's being weird and connecting our domain. But Yeah, that kind of documents all the work we've been doing. We've hosted a bunch of sessions by now. We're working with other schools in our area. Yeah, and I'm just really excited to see how it continues to
What is
grow.
something that you're most excited about? What, like, what's coming next?
Honestly, I think Sanvi and I just get excited for every presentation. Like I really like doing this. And every time we schedule a new presentation or workshop, I find I find that exciting.
So, had you done a lot of presenting before, or was this new for you?
I wouldn't say either of us had done a lot of presenting, um, but I feel like I my parents always put an emphasis on public speaking, things like that. So I kind of had an idea of how to present this, but our presentation is definitely adapted as we've realized maybe what kids like and what kids don't like, things like that.
So there's so many things that you're just doing through this experience. I really love what you're doing, and you're actually living the innovation experience because as I'm listening to your story, I'm hearing that you're co-creating. You're not assuming what kids know. You're actually adapting and honing your presentation as you go and as you continue to interact with these kids. But then also, AI is changing all the time. And so you probably have to keep up to speed on that.
Yeah.
Did you want to say more about that? I'm just curious about that journey.
I was just going to say that one thing when Swami and I discussed our first presentation, we just knew that when we were younger and if we had a boring presentation at our school, we just would tune it out. We'd stop listening. And we only have like pretty short windows to squeeze the whole bulk of what AI is in. So we just needed to make it so that we have all the important aspects in a way that they can learn and but also in a way that it's not too heavy for them. They don't get bored. They actually remain interested. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so you're designing with your end customer in mind, and that's a very
Yeah,
important
exactly.
principle in innovative design. So, as you look ahead, Adia, what do you see on the horizon when it comes to AI literacy and how young people are engaging with these technologies?
I think people are going to continue to engage with these technologies. Honestly, I think it's going to start maybe even from a younger age as AI becomes more prevalent everywhere. Um, I think being able to use AI is going to be such an important skill. Like AI literacy, it's going to be such an important skill. It's like the internet, you know. Everyone has to know how to use the internet devices, and I think AI is going to become something like that just because of how quickly it's risen and how many more possibilities there are on the horizon for these AI tools.
I can't believe how quickly our conversation went. But it's so exciting to hear about the work that you're doing, and it is so vital to shaping the future for children. And also, I think you have a really important message for adults, to be aware and to really not, bury your head in the sand, and ignore this, but to actively take part in shaping good habits for AI use. So we're at the lightning round. I've prepared a few questions for you. So these are just like quick responses, kind of fun. So this one is a fill in the blank. AI literacy for the next generation requires blank.
I would honestly say initiative. People need to take initiative and just try their best, do their part in educating the next generation about AI.
That's beautiful. So, what one word best describes what this work has demanded of you personally?
Personally, this has demanded, I'd say, kind of a boring answer, but a lot of thought because we've had to think about so many things, so many considerations. We have to think about how to market this to the principals that we're reaching out to. Then we also have to think about how do we angle this for this school specifically? And we have to meet before every presentation and kind of don't completely change the deck, but we do have to alter it a little bit depending on the age range, um, and things like that. So it's been demanding in a way, but it's fun. I like it.
What an education you're getting through this. I'm so excited for you. What one skill do you think will become essential for students in an AI driven world?
I think being able to separate what AI should be doing and what they should be doing on their own will become essential, because it's so easy to just think, oh, I need to, like I said before, write an email. Why don't I just type it into ChatGPT and copy and paste it? But I think maybe writing an email is not that good of an example, but there are certain skills that you should be doing yourself, and you shouldn't have an AI tool completely replace you. So that's an important skill.
Absolutely. So, my final question, looking back on the experience that you had so far on this initiative, what do you wish someone would have told you before you started?
I think I wish I knew how widespread AI already was, um, because I knew that people knew about it, but I did not realize that these young kids all knew what AI was. They were all familiar with it. Every single one of them raised their hand for who has used ChatGPT in their life. Every single one of them. But yeah, definitely an adjustment we had to make.
Yeah, actually, that is a really, really great lesson. And you're probably going to return to that lesson over and over in your future, especially if you start building other projects. So I think that, I mean, even for my listeners who are adults, that is an important lesson. Don't assume that you understand your customer. Validate where they're at and what they need. So that's a really good one. Well, Adia, I know you have to get to school. So we're going to wrap with that. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story, and congratulations on all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So, to our listeners, if you're serious about shaping your future inside of your organization, you could start with the book, Enter the Tomorrow Zone. If that sparks ideas or reveals gaps worth exploring, reach out to us at tomorrowzone.io. We'd welcome the conversation. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that you took away some wisdom nuggets from our young entrepreneur here. We, also encourage you to like, subscribe, share if you found value here. And as always, stay curious and choose to make awesome happen.